Hello, everyone. Welcome to Hardcore Metal Detecting Radio. I'm Derek Askell. Craig Talley's on the line, and we'll be hosting the show tonight. I'm going to talk a little bit about everything because, heck, me and Craig both been out hunting today, and Craig found something really nice. I guess we'll just let you talk about that, Craig, because I thought it was a really cool find and where you found it at and everything. It's called determination, folks. But you got you're go ahead. Sorry.
Well, it's like, several months, well, it's probably 6 months ago, my yard started slimming down as far as, finds. I was having a hard time finding stuff, and I was kind of getting discouraged thinking, oh, man. And I started thinking outside the box, and I went back to using less discrimination, running the iron bias real low. And so anyway, I was going back over different spots, and I was testing signals like I'd, be in Park 2, and I'd switch to Field 1 and 2 to, see what the signals were doing.
Right.
And I was telling Derek, try that with the Simplex, sometimes, a different program might enhance the target, or something, but it gives you more information. But, and then when they got the new update where you now have two different iron biases, I'd been hunting a lot in FE, and then dropping the iron bias all the way down, and and so I wasn't finding as much stuff. And anyway, after the program, it was like stuff was popping out of the ground like crazy again. It was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And so the other day, the machine was kind of running noisy, and I was going kind of slow. So today I just changed everything up. I went to recovery speed 6. I went to, I was in Park 2, and I had I was in F2, and I had had it on 1, which is, right at the bottom, it's almost wide open. I tried it at 0, and it was a little noisy, so I just clicked it up to 1, and it, it quieted it up. And I was running 50 tones. And so I went right in between my house and my next door neighbors. There's a driveway. I have this driveway that comes down, and there's gravel, and then underneath of it is like all these rocks from limestone. I think it was when they probably put the old, the new road in. They bulldozed that stuff down into these yards.
Yeah,
probably in the 1880s, probably, or 1870s, but anyway, it's hard to dig, and I've dug 2 eagle buttons. I dug 1 militia button about close to 2 years ago, I guess, and I got another one a couple months ago using that new program. Well, not the new program, but using the iron bias trick, and
mm-hmm.
I got a really deep eagle coat button there, and I had searched it a lot, and I didn't really find much else. But I got this signal, and it was reading 17 on the meter, and it was in one direction. It sounded really good. I could tell it wasn't aluminum. It didn't have that sound. And it didn't sound like a coin. It sounded like a button to me.
Right.
And I went in the other direction. It was kind of scratchy, but the meter was holding on. It was going between 17 and 18, and then maybe 16. But it was pretty steady. But in the other direction, it was just locking on, and so I started digging. And when I pinpointed it, it sounded kind of a big target, and when I got down to it, there was something big iron in the ground. And I was thinking, well, maybe it made a signal on that, but
right. Well, sometimes do it, depending what it's made out of.
Yeah, but I had to dig sideways to get it out because it was like down in the ground at an angle, and then the one part was up, the big part of it. And,
right.
so I pulled it out, and I checked the hole, and it was just, beautiful tone in both directions. And I was like, oh man. So I stick the pinpointer in there, and I pull 3 nails out of the hole, and I go back over it again, same signal. And it was down about maybe 9 or 10 inches. And it was the wreath for a 2-piece sash buckle that went underneath the Civil War soldiers' officers' sword belt plate, kind of like a ceremonial wreath.
I thought it was beautiful, man. I mean, it looks like it's in really good shape from what I could tell in the photo. I mean, it's not like broken or whatever.
Yeah, it was either a year ago or maybe a little longer. I found the exact same one, maybe 60 feet away into my yard from there, and almost not quite in line with this one. So and that's all like sticker bushes and all kinds of crap. I've been cleaning it out over the last couple of years, but I gotta just chop all those weeds out, and get them out completely. But it's but when I do, there's every time I've dug in there, I've only dug in that area. I've only dug 3 good things. I dug a presidential token, and then I dug a skin to an eagle plate that was in great condition. It was just a little bend in it, and then I dug another one of those wreaths, and that was the first one I dug. The first one I dug looks like it's in better condition than this one, but it looks like the same design on it, so it must have been from the same group of soldiers. But I'd like to know what, I don't know if you'd be able to find out what, regiment or what army or whatever, what side they were on.
Right.
It was probably the Yankees more than the Confederates because, the
Confederates didn't have the.
They didn't. Some of them did early in the war, but it wasn't something that. It was something that you would probably lose pretty quickly, early in the war. It was, something that you didn't need.
It's more of an adornment than anything else, the way I look at it.
It's very thin, and mine has like a vine with leaves and a flower on the end. It looks like, and it looks like it even has some gold plating maybe on it. I'm afraid to clean it too much. I've been brushing it lightly with a toothbrush, but I haven't really cleaned it much. And I kind of left a little bit of dirt on the other one I have. It's like we, I've talked about this. You've dug something pretty nice, and it looks fairly good, but people go, oh, I want to make it look even better. I want to make it look perfect, and then they ruin it.
Yeah.
So sometimes, that's part of learning how, it's not just metal detecting, it's, that's, and finding stuff. It's once you find it, you don't want to ruin it. You want to make sure it's presentable, and over cleaning this stuff, it's not going to be perfect. Even a beautiful silver coin in the ground, you take it to a coin dealer, even if it looks like it's mint condition, it's not. It's got little micro
scratch. Yeah, they're all particular about it.
They can see it, So I mean, that's just the way it is. But I don't sell my stuff, so I don't really care about that.
You're just kind of a waste of time to even. Well, it's not really a waste. It depends on the year, if it's a key date and all this stuff. But I mean, even in fair condition, some of those coins are worth a lot of money. But I mean, just your standard, nice old barber dime or something like that. You shouldn't. I don't think you should really clean it at all. It has that patina on it. That's what makes it, kind of nice of the
I
way,
think
But,
just clean it off with water. That's all
right.
you needed.
Yeah.
And I'd kind of avoid putting water on. A lot of times I put peroxide on it. Hydrogen peroxide. That kind of lifts it off, and then once I get it looking good, then I coat it with this Renaissance wax. And I see a lot of people on YouTube and stuff are starting to do that, and on Facebook they're using this wax to preserve their fines a little bit more. But I'm gonna keep brushing it a little bit and looking at it and checking it. I'm gonna take my time with it, but it's a heck of a find. I've never found a reef before, and I'm trying to in my yard. Here,
yeah, it's incredible.
Everybody's talking. All these people are talking about it on some of the Facebook sites, going, "Man, your yard is unbelievable." And I go,
"It's layered." It's layered up. It's
it's like people are saying, "How did you know, that yard was going to be like that?" And I said, I had a good, I thought of all the yards I looked at, that was the best,
right?
The best one. Plus, it was a great house.
Mm-hmm.
It was a house I didn't have to do any work on.
Right.
Other two that that I looked at.
And as was. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
The one that I really was looking at was from 1852, and it was it had a cabin inside from like 1740. But it's funny, I got permission to do that house, and there's hardly anything there. I found an old cufflink, and I found a Chinese coin from the 1700s, and some dinnerware. And the rest of the coins I found, and it wasn't even very many, they were all modern. It was just.
You could just make your own guesstimation on some of these sites.
Well,
I was
telling somebody it makes sense because that house was. There was a Confederate soldier that owned that house, and there's the story about the ghost and everything. The woman's still there, and she got shot. The husband got killed, and then they shot through this chest and killed her and her baby when she was hiding in a chest. And they shot. Somehow a bullet went through both of them or something.
Jeez.
And the woman took me to, she took me down to this house, and I said, "Oh my God, I was getting ready. I was going to, thinking about buying this house, but I said they didn't show the inside of the house. They only showed the outside."
Right.
And she goes, so she took me for a tour, and she'd already done $30,000 worth of renovations because they'd lied to her about the AC and the heating and stuff. And so I was
anymore you do a bathroom or something like that, it's $20,000. It's crazy money sometimes to get decent stuff to like cabinetry and all that stuff for a bathroom or cabinets for a kitchen. It's a lot of price in that.
It's got a beautiful living room, but the fireplace is like 10 feet wide.
Wow!
Like a double
big
fireplace.
Yeah. That's kind of cool.
And it's got this massive chimney in the back. It goes way up, and I guess she's got close to 10. I got 10-foot ceilings in my house, and that's about what she's got.
Right.
9.5, 10 feet. But it's an impressive looking house from the front and everything. But I was glad. I was sitting there going, that would have been disappointing buying that house. And when I went across the backyard, the side yard, it had a beautiful giant side yard. That, the yard wasn't as big as my yard, but no nails in the ground. You couldn't hear anything. It's just like, just quiet. I'm like,
right.
It's not looking good. At the first 5 minutes, I was going, man, something's going on here.
Yeah.
I don't hear anything, And but in my yard, God, you hear little tick, tick, boop, all the time. Swinging. It's just constant little
taps. Yeah, little tweaks, taps, squeals.
Hisses. It's just. Just so much. There's like all these hot rocks, chinkers, and nails, and I've been thinking about, instead of getting that 15-inch by 12-inch, I might get the 6-inch.
I think you're better off, brother, because I think you're going to be able to get in between those targets a little bit better. Well,
I've been watching this guy Finding America and also Lloyd. He's both of them got 6-inch coils, and I was watching Lloyd the other day, and he was going in, into this place where there's all these sticker bushes and stuff, and you can get the coil into little tight areas. But the other guy he was in a colonial site that they've been hunting for 5 years, and they were using all kinds of ways to try to unmask, and they were equinoxes, just they were amazed. And then he went in with the 6-inch coil the other day, and it was he was just pulling stuff left and like, he said, "Oh my God, it hasn't been this. I haven't been pulling this much stuff out, since about 2 years ago."
Right. There's definitely a difference in the tech on these newer detectors. I mean, it's just something about it. I really. Well, I'll let you finish your deal first, Craig, because mine's a little longer, but. As far as the way I felt about the Simplex today, it was, crazy. But, finish up your deal first there, Craig. Sorry, well, I didn't mean to cut you off.
The main lesson on what I've been doing lately is, taking a chance, trying to, pull stuff out of the iron and the junk in the ground. There's not much non-ferrous stuff left. It's anything that's, that's going to beep is probably going to be something good, or going to be, something broken for something from that,
right.
1850s on back, But, it's just a matter of hearing it, and if I hear it, and it sounds good in one direction and it doesn't in the other, or it's thready in the other direction, I dig it. I
Absolutely.
check it all metal. Because there's just so many nails and stuff that are blocking a signal, and I call it take a chance. If you're in a good area, take a chance. If it sounds, like it might be something, and it's repeating and you don't see any numbers, or the numbers aren't good, dig it. I've seen the numbers clear up after you pull like 2 or 3 nails out of the hole. You go back over it, all of a sudden you got a good signal, it's reading like it's supposed to. But I'm getting so I can hear the nuances even when the numbers don't match.
Right.
Sometimes the numbers, I can hear it sounds higher than the numbers are reading. And then I go the other way and the numbers are reading higher. And it was because there was a nail or something in the way, but,
right.
So I pulled 3, when I got this target, the first thing I did was I pulled 3 nails out of the hole, went back over it just to check, the signal's still there, and then I pulled this huge, about a half a pound chunk of iron, cast iron out right within, I would say, 4 inches of the target. The target was so strong, I dug past the wreath. The wreath was down below it, in front of it, and so I dug that up, and then I go back over the signal, over the the hole, and it was like, oh man, it sounded so good. I was like, oh man, that sounds really good. And so then I pulled the thing out, and I couldn't believe it. I said, oh my God, it's another wreath.
Got the adrenaline going.
It's like somebody was asking me about, I said my yard in Alexandria was, tremendous, but it was different, totally different than this yard. Mine was a Union camp, and there was no battle or anything. It was just, everything was drops. There was no fired, I think maybe 1 fired bullet, I found in the yard, out of 64 bullets. I found a ton more bullets, because the Union Army, they were real, litter bugs. That's what they said. They were the first litter bugs, and they left us all this great relics,
Yeah, no kidding. They buried stuff and dumped stuff and got rid of stuff and just wherever they were at.
Had they didn't have to worry about saving stuff. The Confederates were, scavenging, and they were, they didn't have, as, they were just, poor.
Right.
They didn't have the equipment or the,
well, they couldn't even get shoes, man. I mean, people don't realize, man, people on both sides, really, but I mean, mostly in the Confederacy, man, they were not prepared for, the harsh weather, the wet weather. I mean, they didn't have the money or the supplies to, they just went and did it, the hard way. But they, they take stuff or, acquire stuff from the Union Army somehow or whatever, and that's how they probably got a lot of theirs. I can't blame them. I'd do the same thing. You're fighting a war, you got to do something. But, but yeah, this.
Well, the Confederates had marches, where they basically knocked off one army and part of their army held off another army with a fake. And they would march like 30 miles, knock off another army, and then come back the next day and just hammer the other army.
Jeez.
Yep. And the Union wasn't going, 15, 20 miles if they were lucky, one day. The men just, it was killing them. But the Confederates ran real, lean. They were.
Yeah, well, they didn't have a lot of equipment or anything either. They had what they needed, probably about it. Then rifle and bullets and go. It's what it seemed like, anyways, for a while there, especially towards the end of the war. There was a lot of them that, you get in a whole new realm when you talk about the prison camps and stuff like that. My God, what a horrendous, both sides, horrendous situations as far as the prisoners of war and stuff like that. I watched a documentary on that. It was unbelievable. I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. How bad the conditions were, pretty much starving to death.
In general, back in the old days were pretty bad.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, they were dying. They were starving to death. They had, all these damn, from the water and, dying from that and, just horrible living. It was prisoner of war. I mean, they didn't care back then. They just threw them in there, but they didn't have any other place for them. They couldn't take care of them. There's been several, the prison camps. I can't remember the names of them now off the top of my head, but yeah, it's definitely a whole nother realm right there. But yeah, as far as digging into these signals, Craig, I mean, that's, well, me and you had figured that out some of us on here probably have, as far as, digging those marginal signals just to, if you get a high tweak or like with the Deus or with the AT Pro is like that too. If you can get a high tweak with the right, angle and everything, I'd kind of go for it, but it wasn't as good as like the Equinox or even the Quest or the Simplex. I mean, the Quest it was okay and everything. The Quest Pro is all right, but it was not on the same level, I didn't think, as the Equinox, and it was same price, I was out there today from 7:15 this morning until about 2:15 thereabouts, and pretty much digging my butt off. I filled up. Well, out of the last two hunts, I filled over a 5-gallon bucket full of cast iron and brass stuff and everything. Stuff that I don't even, that stuff I knew, kind of. There's no names on it. There's no numbers on it. I'm just going to kind of leave it in the bucket. And then I had another 5-gallon bucket with kind of like, what is it? It's like, it could be something. I just need to clean it. Some of the stuff I was digging today it's so stinking old, Craig, that it's encrusted and it's like rusted to or fused in places that, normally, like I found a horse bit, but it's like a training bit for a colt or something like that. It's real thin. It's like a Snapple bit, the ones that connect in the center of the bit, like move around. It's only the one side of it, but it has the guides like to keep the horse from biting the side of the bit or getting it out of their mouth, like rolling the bit out of their mouth. They can't do that with this particular kind I found, but it's so thin. It's like the thickness of a pencil, and they got wire wrapped, like a copper or something like that wrapped around. I think they were making it into a sweet bit, is what I used to call them. I don't know if that's what they call them or not, but the copper taste, whatever, to the horse. And I'm almost positive it's handmade. It's not, but it looks good. I mean, I pulled it out of the ground. I'm like, what the heck? I knew it was an iron signal, and I pulled it out of the ground, and I thought it was some kind of barbed wire at first. you're real thick like. And I started looking at it when I was over by my vehicle, and because I was going back and forth from the field to the truck, I got tired of carrying stuff. My fine bag was getting too full, and I took it over there, and I saw where it was connected. So, it's a dang snaffle bit because none of it will move. It's all like fused. I have to soak it if I wanted to or whatever. But I'm almost afraid to do anything because the iron or the cast, whatever it's made out of, is so old that you can tell that it's just cracking. And if it cracks too much, the covering or whatever's covering it, it's going to crack right through them because the metal's kind of like at that point where it's getting brittle. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to leave this the way it is. But yeah, I started off. Well, today I went into the park mode. I've been using field, and I did just generally do the automatic ground balance thing, and I was hunting with the sensitivity at like 3/4. And I was just making a video. I just got hunting along like I did with the other ones, just to see what the machine would do. I'm learning it. You guys are learning it if you're watching the video, if you got one of the detectors. And I said, well, let's see what this thing will do. And the first signal I got was, I'm swinging, and I heard this real light. It's almost like a whisper tone on the Bliss tool. It was like beep, and it was repeatable, back and forth. Wasn't getting any VDI numbers, and it was like, okay, I'm gonna. I think I switched it over into field. And I finally got a VDI number. I think it was 25 or something like that, or 30, which is low for a simplex. The numbers go up to 90 something, 99 or something like that. But most of the targets I've been digging, when they're in there with other items, other iron items, or like there's non-ferrous and a bunch of nails around it. So I was having better luck with the field. It can get deeper and it can give you an ID. So I really don't go by VDI numbers, but what I was watching on it was how they were jumping. Like, and the first thing I noticed, I dug a shotgun shell, and it was reading as a solid 20, but it was also like 11 inches down in the ground. And like, what the heck? I got it out of the ground, and I'm like, okay, that shouldn't have been a shotgun shell. That should have been up, in the 50s. But then the next one I dig is it's jumping between 39 and 65. And 65, I dug a penny the other day at a curbside type thing, and it was reading it as a solid 65, and I know they'll go up to the 70 or something like that. But yeah, I was getting these shotgun shells, and it was all different. And maybe it's makeup of what they were made out of. Maybe they should have been made out of brass. But it was kind of strange. But I knew they were shotgun shells. I could just tell by the way that the VDIs were jumping around. But I also knew it was non-ferrous because it was giving me a good non-ferrous signal. I was able to discern. And I'll have to see when I get into coins. I know the coins are there, Craig. There's no doubt about it. I'm finding all of this more something that a person that was kind of well off would have. I found that cane top. That thing I can't even find online. I know it is a cane top only because I was looking at the older antique or vintage or whatever you want to call it, and it has the same apparatus at the bottom. And I mentioned that I think I couldn't find the video footage of it because I actually thought it was a chunk of lead. When I pulled it out of the ground, it's brass, but it was all like this white coating on it, and
it looks like something a witch doctor would have or something.
Oh yeah, I pulled it out of there, and I looked at that. I said, "Well, that's weird. It must connect to something." And I threw it in my fine bag. Well, 2 days later, like I think I told you guys on Friday, I'm sitting there brushing on this thing, kind of looking through the junk, and that's a dang horse head. And now I come to find out it has a hog head on the one side at the lower neck, and then it has a gator on the other side, a gator head. This was probably very expensive back in the day. I found it maybe 20, 30 feet from the button I found that we pretty much dated around 1880s, 90s, somewhere in there. So, I know it was kind of old, but it weighs like 0.7 pounds or something. Crazy, but I'm not throwing anything away. I found so much stuff that had names on it and some kind of engraving on it. Well, today I found a little jar. It's like a milk glass jar. I was getting it because of the lid. It has a screw-on lid, so it's probably, I would say 1910 to 1920, somewhere in there, maybe a little bit earlier. But it's like this little 1.5 by 1.5 rounded square jar about 2 inches tall. and it has the lid on it and everything. And I was getting that hit. That was the first hit I got actually, and it was. God, Greg. I mean, I don't know. I took 3 scoops out of the ground, and I always widen out so I don't scratch anything. But it fell. It actually fell off the end of the last scoop I had, the end of the shovel, and it fell on the ground. I'm like, what the heck? And I saw the glass, and I'm like, well, I got a jar, and I realized the lid was what was setting off the detector. It's kind of like a zinc lid, but I was getting such a soft little deep, deep, deep. It was repeatable, but I wasn't getting any numbers, nothing. And I just went ahead and started digging it. And on my next couple targets, I can't remember exactly what they were, but I was pulling items out, like a couple shovelfuls, out of the ground, and I'm getting nail, and it's all of a sudden there's a chunk of brass or a shotgun shell or sometimes a piece of cast iron that would come through, because that stuff I think when they made it, they just kind of dumped whatever they had to in there, and I think that some of that cast iron comes through at a lot higher numbers sometimes. I'm thinking it's a mixed cast. More stove parts, more tools. I found it's an old hammer, and it's actually split right where the handle would go in. The whole side is gone, so they broke it on something, but it has this really strange looking hammer head on it, and where the handle goes in, it's usually about the same size as a hammer. This thing is like big, like an oval, like silver dollar size, where you would slide the handle up and through there. It's a real strange looking thing. But then I turn around and get in a trashy area with it, and I stayed in that pretty much in the park, but I was switching back and forth to see how like the park mode it would let me know something was there, but it didn't have the modulation like the field mode did. I mean, the field mode you could just tell it was like a bassy amplification or something when you went over a non-ferrous target. When the coin mode didn't have that, when you got depth, it was like it knew something was there and it was just giving you that little whisper tone. And I'd switch up and it would come through just fine. I did that, I think it was one of the last, I was trying to videotape most of the time. I have the storage on my camcorder's pretty good. So I could do like a half hour, 45 minutes straight as long as the battery lasts. At any rate, I dig it. I said, man, I got a target like 2 inches apart. This one's iron. This one's, I can tell is a piece of cast iron, but I have something in the middle that just keeps on repeating. Not all the time, but it was just in the same spot. I could turn and almost get it a little bit. And I started digging those. Well, by the end of the day, the last thing I dug was a pocket watch. And it does. I think I found the back cover of it the first time I was out with the Bliss tool. I think I found the back cover. I haven't matched up. I literally got home a little bit ago, and I just haven't even cleaned any of the finds or anything. But I found that pocket watch. It even has the top on it where you would connect the chain to it, and that moves around. And the face of it, of course, it doesn't have the glass, but you can make out where 8 o'clock is and stuff. So I'm kind of being real careful with this stuff because I've found that this ground has really been hard on these relics and stuff that wouldn't normally break anywhere else I dug it. It's breaking rather easily, like the back of that button. So, but yeah, I dug. Oh shoot, trying to even think here. The pocket watch. I dug the jar. I dug. Several tools. I mean, these things are old. I got the one that's like a 3-inch wide chisel. Now, it may be a masonry chisel of some kind, but it's definitely like 1910, 1915, somewhere in there. But then about 10 feet away, I find one. Craig, this thing has been blacksmithed. It's noticeably at least 50 years older than what I found, a few feet away. And it's kind of shaped the same way, or it could be a part of an axe. I mean, it's just got that same bevel, the same, but you can tell it's been handmade as far as a blacksmith goes. It's not something you'd buy in a store or whatever that they mass produced. A lot of unique things come off there. Like I found, of course, the other day was the cane top and everything. And I started finding gears from I don't know if it's a grandmother's clock. These things are like the size of dimes and stuff like that. And I'm hitting those, but it's in amongst all this iron, and I've been just doing what you're doing. quite literally, if I get a repeatable signal of any kind of a higher pitch, I'm digging it. And and every time it was something that would at least a relic hunter would appreciate. It wasn't just like common trash. It was, part of a tool, part of a wood burner, part of a decoration for something. I got about 10 what is it? So I don't even know. I know it's something because of the way it's designed. I got this small.
That part of the fun is figuring that out.
Yeah, I told Pauline, I said, I can't throw nothing away. She goes, why? I said, I thought I had a chunk of lead. That's a cane top. It happened with 2 or 3 other things already that it's so old that you just don't recognize it when you look at it. You know it's something like that small bit. I'm like, when I first saw it, I thought it was just some kind of somebody wired something, but you look at it and it is a Snapple bit. It's just the smallest one I've ever seen. Maybe it's for a pony or something like that. I don't, they had money. They had, she had fancy dresses with fancy buttons, and he's carrying around essentially a gentleman's cane, and they had horses, nice tack. A lot of the stuff I'm finding is, I can tell even the halters that they had back then, for the horses, they are so old and so beat that you could probably break them with your fingers, Craig. I mean, I got one that's broken in half, and it was broken when I dug it up, or I maybe caused it by prying up on the ground the way I do. But I just one nail after another, and saying that's not it. There it is, right there. There's a piece of non-ferrous. I dug this ball canning jar lid with the porcelain intact. It wasn't broken for once. It was at least a foot down, and I was digging out all kinds of nails with it. It's like it kept on, running a pinpointer around in there. Just kind of shocked me. But even it was masked up so bad that you're not going to get a solid hit on it. It's just, the machines can't do it, but you can get somewhat of a repeatable higher tone. That's what I was going by. And I'd look at the VDI numbers a little bit, but I don't hunt by VDI. I never have. I don't trust them. And that just really proved it to me with the Simplex, because I can't get my mind around the VDI system on the thing, because sometimes an item rings up, like the shotgun shells. Why would one read up 20 and one reads up 50? I mean, they're the same gauge and everything else, and about the same depth and same situation. Why? It doesn't make any sense to me, because usually, you would think it'd be higher up anyways, because it's brass, at least up into the 60s.
Maybe it was thinner.
Well, I'm also not adjusting anything. I literally, like I said, I turned the machine on, did the auto ground balance. You're supposed to pump the coil or whatever, but it's not a manual one. And I moved the sensitivity. So, I mean, I hunted with it in both modes. So now I'm going out there. The next time I go out there, that's when I'm tweaking some stuff up, because I think I got my mind wrapped around what it can do. Well, obviously, I'm digging a lot more good stuff than bad stuff, and and what I mean by bad stuff is pretty much like like a square piece of steel, just like a flat stock, or big washers or something like that. I'm digging these caps. I don't know what the hell they go to, but they're like one of them I think is an old grease gun. Like the cap that the rod would go through. You pump the grease into like the hubs on a car or whatever. I'm finding those kind of caps, but I'm also finding these ornate brass caps. And they actually have a design on them. I'm almost thinking the one I have is a rosette for a horse bridle. It's like about the size of a $50. It's copper, and it has a indentation around about, I don't know, quarter of the weight from the center, but it's all got like rope design to it. And I said, well, that can't be for a piece of machinery. They wouldn't have gone fancy like that. It has to be some kind of maybe horse tack or something like that. It was a plantation property and cattle were there and everything else, but I'm finding feet to like wood burning stoves. I mean, I just never know what I'm going to dig up. No idea at all. A couple times I thought I was getting over a coin because it was reading like 85 to 90. I'm thinking, okay, maybe this is like a quarter. Like the old White's machines would, the White's machines do. There's around 80, I think 86 or something like that is a regular quarter, and 90 something is 91, I think it is a silver quarter. And I dig it up, but because of all the nails in there with it, it turned out to be a mason jar lid again, but it was only like half of it. but because of the nails in there and everything, it was just jumping all over up into the high range. I got the nails out of the way and scanned it after I found it. Then it's, then it locks in. So, you got a lot of bleeding. And I know it's on your side, when you're hunting your yard too, Craig. You got bleed over. The masking is unbelievable, but these machines are I'm able to pull targets out that I probably wouldn't have been able to do with very many machines. I mean, I had the Bliss tool in there, and I dug a bunch of stuff with it, but nothing like I've been doing with the Simflex. Now, I've cleared off some stuff, too. It's like a layered thing. This place I'm hunting in your house, I'm the same, Craig. It's all layered up, layer after layer, and you got iron and nails and cast iron, and some of these pieces of cast iron are about 8 to 10 inches wide and a foot long. So they're masking up a wide area. It doesn't take much when you have something that big. You're not going to be able to get too close to it. It's like a chain link fence, pole or something like that. So. Pretty impressed with it. I'm kind of disappointed in the way that the park mode is. It's 4-tone. It's not bad. It does tell you. I expected
what I
it
was
to.
Thinking about that. Just when you're in a park, you don't want to be digging iffy signals because
right.
you're in a park, and you're don't want to make a mess.
Yeah, true.
I think field, you don't. You're going to dig. It's not going to be a big deal to dig a hole in a field. You just kick the dirt back in.
Right, that's pretty much what I do. Yeah.
I think that's what it's kind of all about. I don't know.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it has more discrimination. You don't want to be digging a bunch of, like aluminum and or whatever, nails, and you don't want to make a bunch of holes. So that makes sense. I was just surprised, even the tone on that field. It's more like a zip or a gravelly, at different depths. It does different things. It's a lot of information, a lot of nuance.
Yeah. I could hear it on some of the YouTube channels.
Yeah,
it's
like
funny.
Rip.
I would say probably 75% of the people think it's a great machine. There's other people that it's not an Equinox, and I go, well,
no, it's not an Equinox, but it's pretty damn close.
People get all this stuff about how deep it is, and people are lying and everything. And I'm like, God, it's always like that when a new machine comes out.
Yeah, it's
all these people that they're so-called experts, and nobody's really an expert except the people.
People use
got experience,
right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't call myself an expert, but I've had a lot of machines, and I've been doing it for a long time. And
right,
but I've always liked fiddling with the machines, and you have too, it's like, trying to get the most out of the machine, and it's just like buying the best machines also, but
I can tell you that the machine thoroughly
everybody
impressed
I
me,
hear that, even the ones that are saying, well, it's definitely not a mine lab, but it's so fun to use,
It is. It's a blast. I mean, I haven't found some of this stuff. Well, I mean, I found a ton of stuff with it already, and I've only had it out, 2 or 3 times. I mean, and not like this is the second major time I've had it out. I hunted for, 9, 10, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, about 6.5 hours today. But, I mean, the quantity of stuff that I dug compared to the junk I dug was dramatically in the favor of the good stuff, where that's not normally the case. Usually, and I was doing strictly by sound, whether it was repeatable, whether it had a high tweak in there or not. But I was getting some weird, like elongated signals and stuff on, and I have to look at the video too, because I can't even remember. I dug so many targets a day, I'm losing my mind. As far as I had to make 4 trips back to the car or the truck there to dump off cast iron and whatever else. Found, some really kind of neat brass pieces. I don't know what the heck they are. They could be something. And it's kind of neat that I'll spend tomorrow and I'll sit out there on the porch and have my coffee and start cleaning things up to see if they say anything or whatever. I have one it's a copper piece the size of a quarter. It's like it was a lid or something, like rounded lid or something like that for I don't know, but it says S&W on it, but it's like stenciled in or something like that. I want to say it says Smith & Wesson, but I know that's not the case, but. Finding unique items that would probably have cost people a lot of money back then to be able to get. This is not a random like regular working class property home. This is a property that was owned by the same family for 150, 200 years or whatever, and it shows. I mean, the stuff I'm digging is quality. I think the only current kind of stuff, I think I dug one pull tab, like a old ring tab, and I keep on digging these barbecue grill stainless steel parts. I don't know what the heck. They are literally all over the field, Craig. He drug this barbecuer, and it's the one with the stainless steel rod, and it has a stainless steel tubing, and then it's
like a grate or something.
Yeah, it's the grate for the barbecuer, but it's like cast iron inside of stainless steel tubing. But this stuff in these clips, these little, they're like 2.5 inches long with a hole on either side of the piece, and it's about an inch wide or whatever. And it it's for a clip to hold them in. I'm finding those clips they're a 20 all day long. They'll lock on. They're stainless steel, and they're always like 5-6 inches down in the ground. And it's like, sporadically throughout the whole field. And we're talking about like a 20-acre field. And like, I don't know, what he drug it all the way around the place or whatnot. I mean, he tried to mow in there too, a little bit, but he's got this Sumter County rock and everything else in there. And it just, you'll tear up a mower. You can't disc it because you'll tear up your disc. And the last rock he took out of there took a front end loader to lift it up out of the ground, because you see this thing about the size of a man's shoe on above the ground, but it's about 30,000 pound boulder underneath it. So yeah, he has major. I don't have to worry about him disking that anytime soon.
Kind of like my neck of the woods.
Yeah, it was crazy, but I mean, that was the only thing I do like field better. Now I haven't messed with any of the. I haven't bumped this bugger up a little. I know when I bump it up, because what I can turn up anyways at the right level, but I wanted to start off with it just like anybody else would. Why go in there and crank the gain all the way or the sensitivity all the way up and this and that. I did try the vibrate, which does work, by the way. It was too much information for me to process, if that makes sense. I'm listening to signals, I'm watching a VDI, and now I have some vibration thing in my hand.
It's mostly for underwater.
Yeah. I just wanted to see how well it would work together, which you can run them together. It was just too much information, and plus I'm trying to shoot a video too, so I was kind of more quiet in this video on what I was doing. But I a couple times forgot it was even on. Just kind of you're trying to pay attention to what's going on with the detector, and plus I'm not using headphones either. Once I put headphones on, I know a lot of these signals I'll hear them. Because that soft one today I barely caught, and I think that button I found was the same way, Craig. I don't remember it being really loud. It was more quiet, but it was repeatable. This machine has a lot of nuance, and I think people are going to enjoy it. Is it an Equinox? No, it's not. But I had a lot of fun with it, and I would say, and only because I've used them, is because really F75, I know it'll beat it. AT Pro, I know it'll beat it. Just unless you get aftermarket coils and stuff, because the AT Pro is really good too, Craig. But heck, this machine is like on a level like $600-700 machine. I mean, what it does so far.
I think they're gonna. I think pretty much they'll probably come out with the aftermarket coils for this, because they got them for the Amphibio.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd love to have like a 7 or a 6 inch coil. That'd be really good. This thing seems to get right. It's almost like what you're doing with the Equinox. I mean, the Equinox is doing it better. I'm not going to sit there and try to BS anybody that way, because I've watched your videos, Craig. I know how it reacts. But it does do a very good job at unmasking. It gives you a chance to at least, oh wait a minute, I got to listen to that again, kind of signal, and it's repeatable. At least every 2 or 3 swings you'll get it. And I started digging those kind of targets, but it's like you have to clear off. Sometimes you hit these sites. These plantation sites are notorious for this down here, and probably everywhere. I don't know. I mean, I haven't really done it very many up north or anything, but it's like it's in layers. You got to take it off in layers, and it's going to take you a long time. I had the plantation property when I first met you, Craig, or talked to you. I'd been doing that that 50-foot wide by 100-foot long section of this one plantation property for 3 years before I even talked to you. And then I did it for the next, 3 or 4 years with the Bliss tool and found even more coins. I've found thousands of coins and relics and buttons and whatever in that area. And I found my fair share of junk too, but it's like once you get that stuff off, you come back a week later and it's like rejuvenated. It grew more. And I think it's because the dirt settles, the sand settles, and it kind of gets that halo back or something like that. But yeah,
I think so too. Another thing I've been doing is I got so many rocks in the ground. I'll take all the big rocks and throw them out of the hole.
Right.
And and if I see like a big bunch of chinkers, big pieces of coal and stuff, I'll throw them out too. But it's amazing. I must have dug in that backyard, just that little section that's probably, I don't know, 40 feet, 50 feet by 50 feet maybe.
Right.
I probably dug, 3,000 nails out of there.
Oh yeah, at least.
Some of them are roofing nails that are more modern, and all kinds of different size spikes.
Have you ever seen a nail? And I don't know whether I have to look at it a little closer, but I got this one nail. It came through. I dug it. I dug it on video, but it's like bent a little bit. But where it's bent at, it looks like wire in the very center, and everything around it's all crusty and falling apart. I don't know if it's. I guess I have to look at it closer, but I can't think of why you would have a copper in there. If it is copper, I can't really tell. Like I said, I haven't had time to clean any of the items up or whatever. Matter of fact, I was showing Pauline. She goes, well, these are awful dirty. I'm like, yeah, they're dirty because I don't want to touch them. I'm afraid they're going to fall apart and stuff. So I had to get the toothbrush out and everything. And I've been doing, I'm no clean or whatever. Just like we talk about on the show. I'm afraid to scrub anything, except for like the cast iron and stuff. It's no big deal. But all these copper items and thinner zinc, like those lids are all zinc. It even says it on the porcelain part of it that these are ball zinc lids. So zinc always comes through like silver does for the most part. It just comes through right away easy. I used to dig them with the Bliss tool all the time, but that's probably my like 2 dozen. Well, I won't say 2 dozen. Say a dozen mason jar lids. In all, some of them are intact, for the most part, but a lot of them are in pieces. And I'm picking up these little pieces, Craig, that are like a quarter of the side of a dime, and I'm digging them 4 or 5 inches down. It's like, what the heck? How's this detector doing this? It just shocked me. But it's cool that it does it, because if somebody's going to put their hands on this. This is a great backup detector. God, add it to your arsenal for, I think, $253. Hell, you can't beat it. I have no dog in the hunt. I'm just saying.
I think Mike and I probably the first 6 months we started digging this yard, we dug at least 150, 200, mason jar lids. He had a stack at one time of the white pieces,
Yeah, the porcelain.
He had like 90 of them or something.
I think they're cool. I like keeping them myself. When they're broken, I get upset. I don't know something about them.
I kept a few just to give away to people,
right?
Just because it kind of looks cool. I don't really want to collect them myself that much, but I know people do. Mike has a whole bunch of different names, different things on them. Most of them are plain. There's some that are real small, that they must have been from, smaller cans back
probably
then.
Like jam or jellies. They used to make them in those pint jars and stuff.
You don't find those very often, though.
No. I have never found one, to be honest with you. I always find the same standard, the standard ones and everything. I'm trying to think. I found so much stuff today, Craig, I can't even think of what my favorite find was.
But those things sound good, don't they?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they bing, bing, bing. And I know it's a bigger I say it on the video, it's a bigger target, but man, they come through nice.
You got to dig it.
Yeah.
If you're in a relic area, you go, oh, my God, it's a plate.
Yeah. I was hoping for I was hoping for a coin, Craig. There's got to be pennies or something on that property. I mean, I'm just digging too much other stuff. I think I have the where they would load up on, like a staging area, where they have if they have a wagon or if they mounted up on horses, which obviously they had there, this is where they would have done it at. So I got to find out where the house location. The only thing that's got me right now is I think it's on the other side of that oak tree, the big, real big, legacy oak. I think it's in the next pasture, or right, just on the other side of it, and that's owned by somebody else. Which, John's going to get me. He's the owner of the one property. He says I'm going to talk to him because I know him, and his last name is the same as the whatever his family owned that property way back. So I'm thinking the main house is probably on the other side of that fence, but still I'm digging plenty of relics. I mean, it just seems like it's around that oak tree. I'm not finding nothing. And I think what it is that you have to understand these tree roots are like the size of trees. I mean, they're, you can't, I'd say bigger than basketballs, obviously. And where they grew and the way that these water oaks and live oaks grow, they usually are closer to the top of the ground. But this one, like, they grew out and they started going.
Well, another thing is that they would have been close, way back when the old relics would have been real close.
Right.
The tree wouldn't have been that big around, so over the years that tree's grown over a lot of those relics probably.
Oh, yeah, it's forcing them down in the ground.
Ones.
Yeah, because I'm not finding roots sticking up in, because it's always been, well, for a long time it's been, let's see, John's had it for 25 to 30 years. And, so before that, I don't know, the cows have all been in there, but you're talking a tree that at chest high is 29 foot around or better. The base of the tree has got to be 35 foot more. And, the root system comes out and goes out and then it went down. It didn't keep on going outward. It like tapped down and it forced all the relics, anything that was there, just pulled them down into the ground with it. Because I had the bliss tool around, and I'm not getting any signal at all. And, I know I can hit a quarter at, easily at 16 inches or something like that. I did get the stirrup about 25 to 30 feet away from the tree, and the bit was about that far. So I don't know, like John's saying, the going arborist said that tree is 500 or 600 years old. So, that gives you a time frame. There could be anything there. And I said, if it ever falls over,
think of all the think of all the leaves that fell on the ground in 500 or 600 years. It could have been a foot or two of debris on top of where the original dirt was.
Oh, yeah. It's crazy. And that ground is so hard. I mean, everybody thinks, it's Florida, it's sand. You dig through real St. Augustine grass that's, that's wild or whatever. And then you have ground that's packed so tight from all those cattle being on there for all those years. It's like digging into, it's almost like digging into clay. I have to, really, well, you've seen it in the video, I have to drive that shovel in pretty hard. If I was using a regular garden shovel, it'd be not happening. I'd have to have a Predator tool or something like that. The shovel I have has a point. It comes down to a point, so it punches relatively good, but I only get about a 7-8 inch plug out of there at a time. And I pry on that thing, popping those plugs out. That handle will bend pretty good. But I'm also in the field. I don't have to be nice. He said, he's told me, as long as you fill the hole in, that's all I care. I don't care if it has dirt on it, grass up or anything, just make sure the hole's filled. And I said, yeah, no problem. And he's been fine with that. I'm actually think I'm helping his property. That ground is so compacted that things have a hard time growing. That St. Augustine will grow anywhere, over top of concrete, bricks and everything else, but any kind of real grass, hay kind of things for the cattle doesn't grow as easily. That's why you have those spots where it's just like kind of like a real hay looking kind of thing, and then it'll be a bald spot with just regular grass and then another spot with hay. But you can't disc it because of all the Sumter County rock in there. You just bust up a disc. And I found plenty of plow parts, so I know somebody's tried. These are all probably from the early 1900s. I probably found 6 or 7 plow blades, so I know somebody has tried to in the past do that, but they just broke the plow. So it just became a cattle ranch or cattle area. So yeah, there's a lot of, and this is only a spot, probably, I don't know, Craig, a half acre. I haven't even gone anywhere else on the rest of the 40 acres. So I'm just want to start somewhere. I'm having fun, man. I haven't dug like this in a good 8 months. And it's location too. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm lucky enough to have found the place or, getting permission on it, but he didn't have any clue. He just saw a big tree and said there's probably stuff around it. And, that's what I went with. Okay, let's go see if there is. And bam, I'm finding, 1800
Well, it's pretty cool.
Stuff.
You got a new spot and a new machine.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Same time. Makes everything new again.
Right. Well, Ohio Relic Hunter's on here. He said, Derek, they say that if you look at it, at the branches of a tree, it should look the same underground with the root system. Yeah, exactly right, Bill. That's what I've always been told too. Yeah. And the branches that come off that, well, you guys have seen it. I mean, it's almost as big around. The branches are almost as big around as the base of the tree is, or whatever, the chest high. I mean, it's a major, so if it looks like that underground, that thing ain't going nowhere quick. All the storms that have hit and high winds and everything.
There could be a treasure chest down 6 feet deep down in there.
Yeah, no doubt. That'd be nice. I'll take all these little treasures, man. I love them. Just because it gets you fired up again. I got so tired. I spent 3 months, 2 or 3 months fighting with that one site.
I told you, man, you needed to change your venue and look at what now you got. Something to test this machine on, and it's fun.
Oh,
this is what it's all about.
Yeah,
you just been on a dry spell for a while.
I know that's the worst one I've been on in 18 years or whatever it's been now, 20 years. That's the worst one I've ever had. I mean, I was like, Pauline was even saying, "What's going on? Is your detector working? Is it actually beeping when you go over?" So I said, "Yeah, it's working fine. It's charged up. I'm wearing headphones. I'm hitting every spot, overlapping by a half sometimes, and I probably worked." That other site, I was working at 10 hours a day. I mean, sometimes, in the middle of the summer, but it's determination. I know there has to be stuff there. I haven't found the spot yet, the activity. And it's just, when you're dealing with some, 300, 400, 500 acre piece of property, that's a lot of area to cover, properly. But I'll find it eventually. But yeah, you're right. I mean, a person can only dig so many bullets and so many shotgun shells before he wants to drink, so.
Yeah.
Let's start off the day with a bottle of Jack Daniels and start, Nah, we don't do that. But, yeah, it's just kind of neat, though. I mean, it's just nice to have a site like that. I have several of them, I had several of them, and they all got built on. I mean, it's like I watched them disappear. I know there's plenty more out here. People don't even know about these spots. The history in Florida, they all think it's palm trees and beaches. There was a lot of cattle down here. There was a lot of, Wild West kind of things going on, and there was a lot of plantations and slave plantations, and gosh, so many different things going on. Not even to mention the Spanish, the Seminole, all these other Indian tribes, and the Spanish being here. There's stuff here. It's just, I think it has sunk quite deep. Every target I was digging, I was having to pull at least 2 shovelfuls out to get to it. Now some of that may be pinpointing too. This thing seems to pinpoint pretty good though, Craig.
Yeah.
Pretty much dead on. I mean, I pretty much do it by signal, like I would with Bliss. But I mean, they do have. I use the pinpoint button some. Pretty much. To see what it does. But I haven't figured out whether it shows you lines when the item's deep, or whether it shows you lines when there's no lines at all on it. On the gauge they have. They don't give you a number or nothing. But I don't know. Half the time it doesn't have any lines on it. And I know I've dug, pulled stuff out 8, 9, 10 inches down. So I'm guessing if it doesn't show anything, it's, it can't read it. So
yeah.
And that may affect because of the nails in there. And there's a lot of factors. Surface area of the target. But yeah, I mean, even the tool type.
The target.
Well, yeah. Even the type of tools that I've been finding, like I said, I've been finding a lot of cast iron, but it's not only wood burning stove parts. This is all in that era of, I think, because of the corrosion on other items in the area. I had this one thing. It was the flue, the flue things for wood burning or for stoves. That flapper thingy. I don't know what you call it. I call it a flue. Just shut the flue or whatever.
Yeah,
the thing was about the size of it. The old oil cans that you used to have to poke a hole in. Craig, we're showing our age now, but anyways, it was that size, and it had it was kind of like, I'm gonna call it wire, but it wasn't wire. That was the handle. Then it had these two other pieces on it, but it came out looking like a piece of Sumter County rock. It was just encrusted with contaminants or whatever. And I knew it was some kind of iron, but I know better than to break it or hit it with something or whatever, because it's probably going to snap whatever's inside there. But I took it over and I set it on the pickup truck out in the sun, came back over, and it started to dry up a little bit. It started to come off a little bit, and it turns out to be it was a flue for a wood burning stove, which I thought was neat. Then I started finding the feet to the wood burning stove, and then I found a wrench, and it's just all these hammerhead. This is the second hammerhead I found off the property. One of them is probably like 1920s. This one's earlier yet. So yeah, I'll put photos up and stuff of it. I'll probably make a few more. Put those videos up if they help somebody. Great. I figured, hey, I got to learn it anyways. Might as well help everybody else learn it. Maybe while they're waiting for their Simplex to get in. I guess there's tons of them.
Well, you hadn't made any videos in a while either.
I haven't had nothing to video, man. I hate putting videos up that, oh yeah, I found a shotgun shell today. I mean, it's kind of like anticlimactic, You're the good one, man. That's how you find the, these buttons and wreaths and this and that and the other thing, man. And you have a good yard, but it's skill too. I mean, not anybody can go in there and hunt your yard. I know that because I've hunted your other yard. That's not an easy task. It's like a minefield of nails and iron and the worst conditions you could probably pick for a site. But
yeah,
you're able to work. That's the way Craig and I both learn, guys. I mean, I have some of the most horrendous sites. I mean, Mark Hoover's hunted with me, Mike Miller. They know the sites I take them to because I tell them, I said, I've had 5 people walk away from this place. They won't even hunt it. But the amount of stuff that we're finding, the good stuff, the coins, the barber dimes, the silver quarters and the rings and everything else. I think Mark found 2 rings, bling rings, but he found 2 rings at that property. I mean, I know there's more. I found, 4 or 5 myself, and over the, couple years that I've done it, but there was also 3 or 4 houses on there that actually burned down in the 60s, I think it was. There was an old church there from 1850 right in the middle of the parking lot. They tore it down and built another church and then another church, so you have a ton of history in one spot. And I had button spills from those burned out houses. I mean, I was digging like 25 or 30 buttons within about 3-foot area. And they were all different, eras. Somebody's sewing room, when the house burned down, all the buttons fell, or whatever ended up in the ground. But I found a cane head over there too. So, I mean,
one thing I find, that's not metallic in the holes is a lot of porcelain buttons and mother of pearl buttons.
Yeah, those things are cool.
And I find a lot of marbles. I got another one today actually. Right before it was another hole before I switched over to that side of the yard. But
I've never found a clay one like you have. But when did they start making glass marbles? I mean, I find them on a 1920s site all over the place.
Somebody said they did them in 1800s and they got like a sprue on them. Now I don't know. I have to go back and look. I just saw that the guy on Finding America. He's got a pretty good YouTube channel, and he does the Equinox, and he's been got the 6-inch and the bigger quill, and he's going these sites. It's pretty interesting. He's like I've been commenting with him, and he's pretty much saying the same thing I have about he's going back to these sites, and it's coming live again, and same thing with the new programs.
Yeah.
So, if you got an Equinox and you got a good sight and it hadn't yielded much, drop
Take it
that,
in. Mm-hmm.
run that thing wide open, and you might dig a nail or two or some big iron, but if you can pop a nice coin out of the ground, what the heck?
I would say just go in there with those basic presets right off the bat until you get your mind wrapped around it. That's what I did with this Simplex. I literally just turned the dang thing on, moved the sensitivity to half. That's all I did, and I've been hunting with it. Didn't even ground balance it. Just say, hey, it's automatic ground balance. Let it do its thing. Because I wanted to come at it from like a perspective that maybe a new person would get into the hobby and do. I mean, they don't know. They don't understand all the settings and everything, and they're not going to read the manual, or they read, a little bit of it. So I just kind of went at it as a rookie, and and just did it. I was swinging right and everything, but I just wanted to hit it for see what it would find, and it's pleasantly surprised the crap out of me. I was like, dang. And I know it's not getting as deep as the Bliss tool. It's not, it doesn't have the target separation of a Equinox, but it does really good compared to the other detectors I've had. So I was going to ask you, Craig, these wireless earbuds, and I think Gavin mentioned them on the other day, low latency, whatever. There's no delay in them. I was kind of looking around for something that would match up. Now, if it's 2.5 or 2.4 gigahertz or whatever the heck it is,
got to be in the fours. Like I think it's 4.1 or 2 or 3 or something.
Are we talking about Bluetooth or are we talking?
Yeah, Bluetooth.
Oh, so frequency doesn't. I was wondering what would match up to, like the Equinox. I think it's 2.4. That seems to be the common. I think it's 2.4 to 2.59 or something. That's about basic for all of it, isn't it? I've never really bought wireless headphones.
No, they got different Bluetooths now, and most of
Bluetooth
most
5
of smartphones will, they'll pair to the different ones, not just one. They'll pair to different ones too, I guess.
Well, I was watching this
what
video.
You want to do
is
good. Get on Facebook and get on one of those Simplex ones and ask somebody what the best. I've seen people on there asking what's the best, earbuds to get.
Well, if they're wireless earbuds, I figured it'd be a little bit easier than headphones. And
there's a lot of people from down south that they're saying they don't want, they're hunting in, humidity and heat and stuff, and they don't want, these headphones like
the killer bees and stuff because they cover your ears and you sweat your butt off and all the sweat goes right into them. Yeah, that's exactly the reason I wanted to use them or use the earbuds.
But you also kind of want waterproof ones too, in a way. You want to get the right ones and not waste your money. So, there's a couple British sites also that they talk about it.
I know they have the low latency ones. I just didn't know if there was a particular brand, maybe you guys know out there, a particular brand that detectors would want to use because of whatever it does. It's not specifically for metal detectors, but something that will work with them, work decently. Because I was watching a video because I wanted to see, I just looked up, metal detecting with earbuds, or whatever. I put it in the search engine on YouTube, and I can't remember his name now, but he made a video, and he says you can use this kind right here, and all you got to do is let them link up. And I can't remember. I think he was using I'll just say he was using an Equinox. I'm not positive, but he had his earbuds in there, and he was showing the target on the ground. He goes, there is a slight lag, is what he called it. And when he went over the target from left to right, when he went over he laid the quarter on the ground, goes over the quarter, keeps on going until the right side of the coil is 3 inches past the quarter, and then that's when the machine would beep through the earbuds. And then he come back across it. I'm like, and he goes, and you could deal with it. I'm thinking, not where I hunt at. I mean, we deal with these trashy areas. Oh my God, you'd be trying to, like a needle in a haystack trying to get a signal. It just wouldn't react fast enough, or you couldn't hear it fast enough to be able to hunt it. Yeah, I mean, that wouldn't work where I'm at. But I mean, it'll make do. I mean, you can make do with it like that. But
I know, Apple has developed like Bluetooth technology that they're going to be transferring data with. It's so fast.
Right.
So it's something like 4.2 or something. I don't know if everybody's using the same numbers or the same thing, but
Right.
I would check. I would check to see what these guys are using, because especially the British guys, most of those guys tear these things apart.
Yeah.
And they've they got a lot of people into this big time, over there, and I've seen it, a lot more about it recently. I'm not interested myself.
I'm not really
like
either, Craig, but I was thinking to myself. I mean, I like my wired headphones. I mean, they're true blue. They're instantaneous. They're my Killer Bees or my Sunray Gold's been my go-to headphones for a long time. And
Yeah.
I trust them. I know them. And see, I got in on that wireless stuff back when Whites came out with the Spectra V3i in 2008 or 9. I think it was 2000, the beginning of 2009. It had wireless headphones, and don't get me wrong, they're good, but I never realized that in using those, when somebody gave me a pair of Sunray Golds, I noticed the difference right off the bat. I'm like, oh my God, there's a delay in this. I guess if you don't know it's there, it's one thing, but when you know there's a delay, but because you used a wired set, I never use those headphones again. I mean,
I know it.
Sunray Golds, man, all day long, and
I've heard people, a few years ago, guys are, complaining about it, and now it's like, you got Garrett's got the Z-Link that hooks to the
right.
pinpointer. Same with Deus. Deus has always had really good wireless headphones.
Yeah, I think Quest has a box too, though. Box that's AT Pro has one because you have that special whatever screw. I'm calling it aircraft connector for the waterproof headphones or whatever. You got to put that special. You can't just put any headphones with the Garrett. If I remember right,
Yeah.
AT Pro, you had to have that adapter. But that's one thing I don't like about the Simplex, and I know they have to use. It's almost like a data port connector for the headphones. You got to screw that in, and then you could plug your wired headphones into that adapter. Whatever the female adapter, you could plug it right into it. But my thought, two things. One is they have a cap, like a rubber cap that fits over the I'm going to call it a data port or charging port. It's not one of the magnetic ones like the Equinox has and like the Quest have. It actually has it. You have to push it in there and you have to screw it in like a bolt size adapter, whatever screws into there. And it's a good secure thing, and it's really good because it seals it when you're underwater. But when you're not underwater and you're not using headphones, waterproof headphones and stuff like that, and you just want to use the machine with the speaker, they have this little cap that fits over top of that instead of being a screw-in sealed bolt or whatever, or nut or whatever. The Quest has that. I don't know if the Equinox has that or not, Craig. Does it have a screw, you screw it on?
It has a little black cap, rubber cap that fits on there, and I think it screws in.
Yeah, I mean, something secure, because I'm keep on thinking, well, those, I'm going to say it's not going to leak, but to me, I'd rather have something with a gasket that you screw on there.
It also has this kind of a stiff wire that you can hook in there and then run it to waterproof headphones.
Yeah,
wired ones.
Well, I'm not cribbing about it. I mean, if that's all I have to crib about this machine, and really, construction wise, there's nothing really to complain about. This thing has no wobble. I beat it against the brush and the sticks out there and the ground, and it's not even falsing when you do that. I mean, you can't beat that. But I haven't had any problems mechanically or whatever with the machine. So if I have to crib about that one thing, I guess I can. I'm allowed to. I haven't found any bad points yet.
I just took the cap off for the first time just to see, and it's like a really nice rubber. It's hard but not brittle.
Right.
It's got like a little lanyard around it hooked to the detector, so you don't lose it.
No, that's a good idea too. Say that these little things are, I mean, every machine has that little thing, like the coil ears on the Equinox are, they're a problem. They're going to fix it probably. They probably already have. The Quest was the arm cuff.
They were
the
like
arm
that. I don't think they are, because they were like that with TX, and they still are.
Well, that's true. I don't know. Equinox has thick old, or the Simplex has a big old thick ears on it.
Yeah.
But it also has a bolt, or whatever, the nylon bolt, or whatever you want to call it, neoprene bolt that goes through it. I think theirs is actually a plastic of some kind of a new polymer. But you push it through, and it actually has like a half a wing nut on one side, and then a regular wing nut on the to tighten it up, and you can actually twist them both to get enough tension on there so your coil doesn't flop around. That used to be a problem years ago with some of the detectors. It's almost you can bump it around, but it's substantial. It has actually the same lower shaft gaskets, the rubber gaskets that we use on like the Bliss tool and stuff. It has the same ones, which is kind of cool. But yeah, I haven't had any problems with wobble, banging into stuff, putting pressure on it. That shaft will even flex, Craig, believe it or not. If you put it like straight down on the ground and like push down on the handle kind of with your hand, you can see it flex. But when you swing it left to right, I don't feel any kind of wobble in it. And that's what I was looking for, especially when you bang into stuff and everything. So it's strong
like
material.
The Deus, you can run over it with an SUV, and it'll bend and twist and come right back in shape.
Really? Oh, gee, well, I don't want to try that yet.
Yeah.
Actually, hey, I've known guys that have done that. I got a phone call from, I'm trying to remember his name now. He bought a V3 from somebody, and he was set it down behind the car. He was going to put it in the trunk, and he got sidetracked talking to the guy, got in his car and backed right over the machine. He just paid for it and backed right over top of it. It was like, oh my God. And you remember the pictures I sent you of that, I think. It was in like 7 or 8 pieces. So like, oh my God, you had to run over the control box. If he ran over any other part of that metal detector, I could have replaced it. But when you run over the control box, you're pretty well out of luck. So.
Yep. I see that one.
Yeah, no kidding. Yep. Yeah, keep up with your adapters, guys, really, because I think, and Simplex is, Nokta's not bad about it, and I don't think Quest was either. I think they're like $12.95 for that adapter, which is not bad. But you think about trying to find something like that; it's almost like a data port you'd have for the old school mouse, Craig, on a desktop. The green looking thing. It was round. You plug it in the back of the computer or the whatever to have a wired mouse or whatever on your computer. That's what it looks like, but it's heavier duty and it has the screw, like a CB radio antenna kind of thing going on, kind of like with the Bliss tool, just on a smaller scale. So it's a very substantial connector. It's just, I don't know. I would have liked to have seen them add a actual plug-in, whatever you can plug your headphones into, instead of having it set up like that. But I haven't tried it yet, so maybe it's okay. I don't know. We'll see how many times I break it. Because Americans are tough on machines. That's what I always got told by Ahmed. You guys beat up your machines. You treat them like crap. I said, no, we use them. We use them the way they should be able to use them.
They probably did that because of the water, being waterproof and stuff.
Right. Right.
Just to keep it, keep people from forgetting and messing the machine up or whatever.
Oh yeah, I'm sure there's a reason for it, and everything else is constructed good, so it should be fine. I was worried about the tension pulling, like, God forbid you drop the detector and you have wired headphones to it. Is it when it hits the ground and it pulls? Obviously, like Killer Bees have a substantial cord, and here you are dealing with something half the size, and the connector goes into the back of the machine. Is it a weak spot? Where you could try and ruin you have to buy another adapter. Hopefully that's all you have to buy. If it did do that, I don't know. Like I said, I'm just kind of nitpicking it a little bit, but all in all, I can't really complain about the machine. I don't like the way it beeps, Craig. It beeps funny. That thing has so much nuance in it, it'll blow your mind.
I remember this one guy used to claim that certain models of the same model, some went deeper than the others. And then,
Yeah.
so one time I was out there and I said, I think this one really good. This one seems to be hotter than these other machines.
Oh.
And he had one just like it. And I was like,
God. Yeah, I remember.
it's funny how people will blame their machines, when they're not finding anything, but when they're finding stuff, they'll be going, "Wow, this machine's really."
Yeah. My wife laughs at me all the time. She goes, I've known you for how long in your life? And she goes, when you get frustrated with something, you throw it. Like if I'm, working on, I'll throw a hammer or whatever. I'm just, it's childish or whatever. Just get that steam out or whatever. She goes, but when I see you get ticked off about, when you're out metal detecting something, the last thing you would ever throw is your metal detector. I said, no, I'm going to set it back in the car. I may throw the shovel against a tree, but I don't let myself get that. It's supposed to be fun. If you start getting aggravated, take a break, smoke a cigarette or whatever you do, and drink a shot of Jack Daniels and come back out and hunt again. Or a bottle. But I never got mad enough to throw my metal detector. That's the last thing I would throw. I've seen guys do it. Well, you have too, Craig. I remember that one guy throwing his dais across the... I'm like, oh my God, what are you doing? You don't throw that. That's technical.
I've seen some... people have lost their minds. I've been frustrated before, but I don't lose my mind. I know what the deal is. I mean,
right.
Some people, I guess it's a pressure, or they feel like they're failures because they're out there hunting with a bunch of people and everybody's finding something and they're not. And sometimes most of the time, it's either your technique or you're just not putting your coil on top of something.
That's all
that
it
happens.
is. Yep.
I've been in sites where there's 20 people hunting and 3 people are finding,
everything
targets.
Yeah.
And one of them was me, and the other 2 guys were hunting just like I was. They were hunting slow. Everybody else took off across the field. They were already, 20, 30, 40 yards away after the first 10 or 15 minutes.
Right.
And, I looked around, there was 3 of them hunting along, and all of a sudden we started finding stuff, and, it was a place that had been hunted before too. So you can't just sit there swinging wild. I watched these, I was watching that pound the ground, and, there was guys getting frustrated, they were, guys were digging toppers right next to them,
right.
And they just weren't putting their coil on it. And I was watching this one. Next thing I know, he's hunting he's like racing around, and the coil is like coming up off the ground on the on each side. And you're looking at it. Really, he's getting maybe about a 12-inch patch where the coil is actually on the ground. And the rest of the time the coil is pointing out away from where he's hunting.
Like that one hunter up there at the Dippa hunt was the same way.
But I've been hunting long enough where I used to get like that every once in a while, 30 years ago or whatever.
Yeah, you get frustrated.
Yeah, and I'd start hunting fast, and then I go, look, either hunt right or go home.
Yep.
That was my motto. If you don't do it right,
just
go
get
to
back
hell
in the car, go home, and take a break.
Get your mind back together and come back out again.
Yeah.
But I never got that frustrated. My whole thing was if somebody found something really good, instead of getting frustrated, I would go over and congratulate them, because it's that's, something that, when you find something really good, that's a heck of an event when you're a metal detectorist, especially if it's something really fabulous, everybody can kind of, everybody wants to find that, but it kind of creates excitement. With me, it made me hunt harder.
Yeah.
I thought I can find that, I still haven't found that gold coin yet, but, I found just about, and I want a Confederate belt buckle, but, other than that, I've done pretty darn well. I don't really have much on my bucket list. Most of the stuff that becomes a bucket list, I wasn't really thinking about,
Well, that's what I was just going to say. That's the stuff I've been finding. And Pauline goes, well, I suppose that's on the bucket list too. I said, honey, I never thought about finding something like this. So so it's automatically on the bucket list because I didn't even think about finding it. It's just, it's cool. I wanted to, hey, I found one of these what the heck? You got to pat yourself on the back sometimes because ain't nobody else going to do it for you. So, hey, you find something cool, congratulate yourself. Shoot, you know. But it's the same, take a break. I mean, I sit down and have a glass of water or whatever and just regroup for 5 minutes and then go back out there and hunt again. I mean, yeah, Will was wandering around out there on the big property over there, and he goes, "What are you making a video?" I said, "No, I'm not finding nothing." He goes, "Well, I thought I heard some talking." I said, "That was probably me talking to myself because I was about fumbuzzled." Like, what the heck? I mean, another shotgun shell right here in front of me. And sure enough, there was. And I started getting aggravated. I'm like, wait a minute, take a break. So I went back to the truck, got a drink of water, talked to Will for a little bit. Said, okay, I'm ready to go back to detecting. And I hit it again because you can find yourself doing exactly what that guy did. You were talking about swinging all over. We saw it happen up there in the Digging in Pennsylvania event. Remember that one? I think it was a lady that was doing. She's hauling butt across the field, just swinging the coil. I mean, it was getting like a foot of space in front of her, and she was totally frustrated. And I get it. We know how you can get people can get like that, but it's like, just take a break, sit down, have a soda. We did that. We stopped after a while and just sat down and BS for about an hour, and then we went back out and hunted some more. So,
I've always hunted slow. I just it works for me, and probably 90% of the people hunt faster than I do that I've been out with, over the years. But people didn't like to hunt with me because I was so slow a lot of times. Right. I go ahead, I'll find you later. If you want to go over there, but I'm still finding stuff right here. Why move?
Well, I can stay.
If I'm finding stuff in a spot,
right,
I'm not going to move. I mean, because there might not be something else somewhere else,
right?
And you may not get, and something might happen, and you never come back to the spot again.
In this little half acre, you seem to. I mean, I'm working way fast. I mean, compared to what I normally do on this property, but I'm looking for. It depends on the kind of hunting you're doing. I'm looking for just a popping signals. Whatever they are, get them out of the way. Whether it's ferrous or non-ferrous, they come through loud and they're shallow, or whatever dominant signals. And then I'll go back through, because I said in the video several times, I'm getting other signals that I know are signal, but they're just whisper tones here and there. I'm not stopping. I want to get the property. I want to get the initial junk off the top. That is my theory. This area, because I'm dealing with so much big items. I mean, but usually, well, you've hunted with me, Craig. I'm just poke along too. I'm just going to do and we'll walk and hunt, but even when we find something, we spiral around it, trying to.
Oh, yeah.
That's the way, because there's probably, if they drop one thing, they could have dropped something else. That's the way I've always looked at it. But
I used to listen for the iron, man. It doesn't matter if you're a colonial spot or a Civil War site. If you start hearing, iron, you can tell.
Yep.
The ground will sound funny when people are, occupied a spot too.
Right.
There's other ground contaminants that are associated with humans, and
yep,
that affects, that it creates some effects in the ground too, and it's you might get you might not see a fire pit, like the charcoal, fire,
right,
but if you go over that, you might hear the charcoal, you'll get a weird sound
signal
from that. Yeah. But
well, this machine with this Simplex was just bouncing. I get a solid, repeatable 4. I know it's going to be cast iron or something like that, but it's so loud and it's bing, bing, bing. Get it out of the way. I mean, and I've been fortunate enough. This stuff is actually pretty cool, so I can at least have a kind of a thrill finding something kind of cool, really old. But then I get like a 15 or a 16. And these are all low on the chart, really, because a penny reads up at 65 or 70 or something like that. But how many targets, how many neat things of what I have not dug, but if I just look at the VDI numbers, I mean,
what is the big piece of iron read on the meter?
I've had them. I've had them go as high as 92, but it's not been they're not locking on. They'll jump between 60 and 90. So I know right there it's probably going to be something kind of, maybe, pretty big and dominant over the area. So you want to get it out of the way. Same with shotgun shells. They would, I had that one that was solid 20, but then most of the other ones were reading up from between 45 and 65. And, it's like it wasn't wanting to stay more than one swing or back and forth over the target, that same number. Then it would jump to like 45, then it would go up to 50. So I know, okay, I've gotten it in my head. Now that's probably going to be a copper item, more than likely a shotgun shell, because every one of them, except for that first one, did that. And they just jump around. Same thing with the shallow cast iron will jump, but it'll jump 4 to 15 to maybe 20, then back down to 4. But most of the time, it seems to want to lock on. Now, if you have a non-ferrous target or regular iron next to cast iron or above it, that's where it starts getting shady. You just, you got to go with the, there's something good in there kind of thing. You'll hear that repeatable tone, even though it's more of an iron tone or a low tone, you can hear the iron spitting next to it. So, okay, we got two items here. The recovery delay is fast. I mean, Craig, I can go over the run and go, there's all kinds of targets. So,
can you turn the iron up and down?
You supposedly, yes. I haven't done it yet, but I need it.
I heard you could do that.
You supposedly get more depth, believe it or not. That's what it says in the manual, too. You turn the iron volume off or down, you'll start getting more depth. So I've thought about doing that, but then again, I have so many cool iron items that I'm digging. Do I really want to knock out iron? And plus the masking issue, where these bigger iron pieces, if it's turning the volume off, I'm not going to dig them, and they're still going to be blocking and masking something cool next to it or underneath it. So, it's kind of a judgment call on that. I think I'd leave it like halfway or something. I haven't really had that problem, though, yet. It's not been, as many items that are in the ground, it's not been like the Bliss tool. When I try to run all metal in that, it'll blow your eardrums out, just because there's so many targets and you get aggravated. With this one, it kind of spits on like standard nails and stuff. The cast iron comes through with a signal. Even if it's a small piece of cast. So I don't know, cast iron's weird. I've always dug that stuff. It just comes through. The old cast iron stove elements you iron clothes with, those kind of things. Those always popped even with the Bliss tool. I knew they were probably iron, but it was like a cast. And there's usually something kind of cool, so. But I'm about burned out today, Craig. I got a lot of cleaning to do. I got 2 5-gallon buckets full of stuff.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, it is. Like I got this stuff. I said, I was going through the bucket. I said, I forgot I found a Seminole Indian bullet too. And I'm showing Paul, and she goes, how much stuff do you have in that bucket? I said, I got a bunch. She goes, okay, I'll look at some tomorrow when I go out to have my coffee, because she'll go out on the back porch with me, and she'll start looking through stuff. That's why I put it out there, because she likes cleaning stuff up too. So, something to talk about. But she even thought, the horse thing I found was a hood ornament. I said, no, I've already thought about that. And looked at every kind of hood ornament I could think, but the way it connects, it doesn't make sense compared to what I have. And I started looking at old canes, walking canes, the classy ones, and it looks just like what the connector would be on the one I have. So I'm like, okay, it's got to be a cane. I can't think of anything else it would have been. And it's made out of. Do they have such thing as a leaded brass or it looks gray, like where it's eroded from or has that cancer on it. You know what I mean, Craig? But you would think that brass would be yellow or some kind of yellowish color, but it's not.
I don't know what it's called, but the King Charles II cufflinks that I dug were made out of a brass lead alloy, according to this lady, that identified it over in England.
Really? Okay, because that's what I think I got going on here.
I'd never heard of that before, but obviously there was, this is like from 1600, so.
I wasn't even sure how to clean this thing. I've never put it under water. I don't, you know what I mean? I've been really careful with this stuff because I don't know what kind of it may make it worse. So I've been using like a fine toothbrush and stuff like that. I haven't even wanted to put water on it. I mean, to kind of
Yeah,
This
you
stuff's so
start
hard
off,
on.
it's like, I've gotten into using, I've been sitting here the whole time we've been on the show, brushing this wreath off, and it's almost looking better than the first one did now.
Yeah.
And all I'm doing is taking a, brush and just I keep brushing it and brushing it. And now the leaves have got actual detail. You can actually see the stems in them, and then the flower. You can see it's probably like a sunflower on it.
I was doing that last night on the horse, and Pauline goes, "What the hell are you doing over there?" I'm like, I said, "Well, I don't know." And, I kind of looked at her. I said, and she says, "What are you doing?" I said, and I told her, "Have you ever seen Lord of the Rings? The Hobbits and all that?" And you got that little creepy guy that goes, "Precious," they're talking about the ring.
Yeah.
That's what I did to Pauline. She goes, I said, "Precious," and I'm over here with the toothbrush. She laughed her butt off so bad. She goes, "You're crazy." I said, "Yeah, I'm cleaning relics. I'm watching TV. I think I was watching the gold, what do you call it, Bering Sea Gold or something like that. We had them recorded, and I was watching those, or Oak Island one. I'd sit there and clean relics." I got a problem. I got issues. It's addictive. We say that. So, hell, Craig, it's almost 9:45. I think we probably ought to shut her down for tonight.
Oh, we can go on another 45 minutes.
There you go. Yeah, my wife may kill me.
I swear it didn't even feel like 40 minutes went by hardly.
I didn't think so either. I got all the guys on chat and Barb too. Yeah, Peter Beaufoy's on, Ohio Relic Hunter. Bill Marsh, Digger Man's on, Barb's on here tonight. I saw Gavin earlier. Mike Clutter. I butcher last names, brother. Sorry, but Mike's on here tonight. Shoot, I saw a Yardifact Digger. I thought here somewhere. A lot of good. If you guys ever want to get on chat, some of y'all listening out there, if you're on I think you can get onto it on your cell phone too. Just hit the comment button on the show. You can jump over here. These people have a ton of experience in detecting, and heck, they know a lot of stuff. Anytime I need to ask a question, I either ask. Most of the time, I ask Bill Marsh. Ohio Relic Hunter. He knows. He's like me. He watches a lot of different stuff, Craig, but he always has an answer. So, get your information on chat.
We know more than archaeologists do. If we've been in this hobby a long
time. Collectively, I guarantee you we probably do on all this stuff. So, all the people out, all you have to do is ask a question on Facebook, what is this? And you have, I'm not sure, but I'll check, that kind of thing. And, sure enough, somebody will, come up with something, or at least an idea anyway. I put some weird stuff up sometime. I have no idea what the heck it is. I found a couple, I think it's a tractor part, Craig, or I don't know. It may be from a Model T, or it's some kind of a gauge. It says gauge on it, but I don't see anywhere that you can even, it screws on. It has threads, and it's like a radiator cap thing. But it's not from a typical Model T or something. I don't know what the heck. Maybe it's from a tractor. But it's made out of brass. I'll have to take a photo of it and show it to you. You probably know what it is, but it's got to be a tractor part is what I'm thinking. And then I started thinking, well, maybe it's something for steam. You know what I mean? I don't know, the 1800s, I don't even know when they came out with, started using tractors, actual diesel tractors or whatever. I think that wasn't until the 1900s, right?
Probably in the 1800s.
1800 diesel, yeah.
I can't remember. Well, they probably had steam.
Steam first, yeah. Steam locomotives, yeah.
Well, I think they probably had steam tractors. They had steam cars, even.
Yeah, it may very well be a part like that. I'll show it. You'll know, Craig, when I show it to you. I would think. I don't think it's quite that old, but it's just weird looking. It's like I don't know, about 2 inches. As you're looking down on it, it's like 2 inches. And about the size of a silver dollar, and then it comes down into like a pedestal where it sits in, and that's all it's there. And on the back of it, it says something about it being a gauge, or 25 pounds gauge, or something like that. I'm like, well, where's the level? Where what does it just pop off? Is that why you found it? It's because it blew off the top of a radiator or something? I don't know. But it's an ornate piece. It's heavy brass. I'm going to save. I already told Pauline I'm saving everything I find from that site, just to show people just how much junk you can dig. I'll end up with, well, like I said, I already got a couple 5-gallon buckets full. So I mean, and I've only hunted it a couple different times. See if I can get a pickup truck.
It's amazing all the iron junk. I've saved a lot of it. I've been saving like the spikes just to.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I feel like doing it. I'm going to do a video sometime just to show how much stuff is in the ground, and if you get it out, it makes such a difference.
It's going to be so clean
on a site, because a lot of people are complaining, that sites are disappearing, that they go back to these sites and they're not finding anything, and it's after you go, several people go, 5 or 6 times a cellar hole or more, maybe 10 times, it starts slowing down after a while. But, because of all the iron in the ground, there's got to be more stuff in the ground, that you're missing. But, it's like I watch the stealth diggers. They've been going in and they bushwhack the whole place. They move all the logs out of the way and the sticks, and they rake, all the top leaves and stuff off,
right.
And then a lot of times they scrape the ground. They'll just, and I've done that myself. I'm even thinking now, down the road, I'm going to be excavating holes in my yard. I'm going to be digging pits.
Yeah, Bill Marsh has been saying that tonight. I told you need to get a sifter, Craig. Said it on chat.
Yeah, I've been thinking about it for a while because I know that, I've dug down, a couple times lately. I'll get a deep target, and then after I get the target out, I'll dig like down another foot just to see what the soil looks like. And I'm pulling up pieces of square nails and pottery down that deep.
Wow.
And dishes, dishware and stuff. So, some of this stuff could be even 3 feet deep down in the ground. You just don't know.
Well, that's another thing I found. Cast iron spoon. Just the spoon, not the handle of it, but just the spoon itself. That's got to be, pretty old anyway, isn't it? I don't know.
Yeah.
I've never found one before, to be honest with you. I find regular spoon, like baby spoons and, stuff from like the 1920s, the early 1900s. This thing looks, it's pretty much toast, but it's pretty old. It's got to be 1880s anyways, right? I don't know when they stopped using cast, but
I think it's got to be from the 1800s. It's
I don't remember seeing them being sold or finding them at flea markets or anything like that, cast iron ones. And this is true cast iron, so.
Yeah, you dig them at colonial sites and Civil War sites, stuff like that. But, I don't think people used, I think they pretty much, a lot of them you see pewter, but you'd have to have the.
Yeah, this is actually cast, so I don't. To me, it just dates the site. Anything you guys you're finding out there, if you're new in this hobby, you can date a site, or you get an idea of what era this site is primarily, where it's located, where it was, people lived at, where the activity was. And, I found an area on there was, 1920s, and then there's, the other, 15, 20 feet away, it's 1800s, and, it's kind of layered up in that place so bad. But you can date a site on, tools and screw caps and cork bottles. And, you're getting an idea of what era it was from when you can't find a coin or something like that. I found that button, so it kind of led me on to figure out the one area is at least 1880s. And now, you find a cane handle, just you're finding all this stuff. You're kind of putting a story together, so to speak. And that's the way a lot of us do it anyway. Craig paints a better picture than me most of the time, but you've been doing it for a couple more years, right?
Yeah, you.
I haven't learned everything yet, Craig. You got to show that to me, so I learn everything.
It's like part of the thing is, I like, handing my knowledge down to other people, because, it helps other people. And I kind of learned from veterans, when I first started hunting. Nowadays you got the internet, and a huge, vast, so much more knowledge than we ever had back when we first started. So, but, anything helps in this hobby. If you can use some technique to help you, find more treasure and more relics and coins, then
Right.
nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's what everybody's looking for. It's better machines, better research, all kinds of stuff. It's just, it's finding the good spots. Finding the good, the places that are going to yield the good stuff. You got to go where the stuff is if you want to find, the really good stuff. You got to be at the right spots, and it's just not everywhere,
Yeah. Well, I got Digger Man on here. He says, I love finding old tools. One of the main reasons why I dig those overload signals. I dig I've dug signals shoulder deep in the ground to figure out what the heck it is. Because if you're getting that big of a signal, it's got, it's iron. I mean, a lot of times I knew it was iron, but what is making that? I think the biggest, I dug a 30 or 40 pound electric motor out of a site that was about, I don't know, 2 foot down in the ground. That was probably one of the biggest things. I know I got that 38-pound D-shackle too. That thing was huge. But yeah, getting that motor out of the ground, that thing's solid. And it was all cast on the outside, and I mean, it's pretty old. But yeah, tools and stuff. I mean, I'm digging. That's why I dig the overload signals. Most of the time, it's something kind of cool, anyways, or something that you can try to figure out what it belonged to. It just depends on where you're at. I mean, you get some of these modern places, a modern site, like I tried to do where the old Sunoco station was way back when, whenever, it hadn't been a gas station in 50 years, but at any rate, all I've got was automotive parts, like old alternators and starters. Sometimes the trash is just overwhelming and you don't even want to mess with it. When you're digging, every foot is some kind of big chunk of nothing, So I've walked away from sites like that, but it's just because you have to get all that stuff out of there before you even attempt to try to get anything, of value most of the time, it seems like, at least down here. I had a site where, I don't know what they did with the extension cords, but man, Craig, there was extension cords running every which way in the ground. And, I know ham radio operators do. My uncle was a ham radio guy way back when. He's passed on a long while ago, but I metal detected his yard. My aunt's there, obviously. And he ran ground cables from the ham radio antenna under the ground. So, like, every foot or two, I was getting this, signal. And I dig down, what the heck is this? And I pull up some of it, and it's like a wire that's about a 25 or 30 foot long in the ground, laying like an inch or two in the ground. Like, how are you going to hunt that site? I mean, you can't rip up there and, the ground antenna or whatever. And so, yeah, you get frustrated with some of these sites, but, the ones you can hunt, it might be a junk pile, but it might be an 1800s junk pile. That makes it okay. So,
yeah.
But yeah, we're gonna jump off here, guys. But be sure to like and follow the show, and check out the Facebook page. Craig and I both been posting up stuff. I put some videos up too, and I've been bouncing around so much lately. It's just I just put them up when I can. I probably won't have anything new probably until Monday or Tuesday this week. I may do one tomorrow. Just kind of edit it and post it. Sometimes it's taking like an hour and a half, Craig. I don't even understand why, but yeah, I got to figure out what's going on with that, because I should have upload speed faster than that for YouTube. But I usually post them up there and then move them over to the Facebook page. But we have a lot of other stuff on there. Craig put up some really kind of interesting articles and stuff too. The Giants, Craig. I watched that video. I didn't really like her narrating it the way she did, but it was actually kind of informative anyway. That's a whole nother show. So
yeah, I was surprised at how many newspaper articles from the 1800s and early 1900s. It was a regular thing that people found these giants, and now it's like
30 foot tall.
Hardly.
Yeah, 30
foot
tall.
Like they're covering it up now or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's weird. Well, they say they found bodies of 11 foot tall, 3 11-foot tall bodies. Some of these articles were just like legitimate articles. Another one was like a 30-foot tall man. I mean, not a typo. I mean, they're saying, what was the special forces guy getting attacked by a 30-foot tall giant, whatever you want to call it, or 13.
13-foot.
Yeah, it's crazy. Makes your mind.
That was the latest one, but there was. I think Cortez, when he visited different parts of United States, back then, 1500s, he came in contact with giants, and some of them, the natives told them that they didn't like the giants, that they had a bad countenance, that they weren't very good people. They were cannibals, a lot of them too, supposedly.
Yeah, if you were that big, you get hungry too.
But you see this all through history, and I think a lot of people think it's a myth or something, but the Bible talks about giants walk the earth, in the Old Testament,
right.
And I don't see anything, I think it's true. I mean, you see these things. You saw these Vikings that were supposedly found. They were like 8 feet tall or something up there in Minnesota or Michigan or
something
Wisconsin
like that,
or something. Yeah, but they had a map, and they were all over the whole, from the west coast to the east coast, from the north to the south. There was these bodies. The biggest ones ever found were like 30 feet tall.
Yeah,
but most of them were between 8 and 13 feet.
Mm-hmm. Well, and we've always said it on here too, but there is a grain of truth in every myth. There had to start somewhere. There has to be something going on, or it wouldn't have been talked about to begin with. But at any rate, we got to get off here, buddy. It's 10 o'clock. I gave him 15 extra minutes. My wife's cussing me right now. No, she isn't. She's in there. I got to get her something to drink, and I'm going to chill out for a while and maybe go out to Texan tomorrow morning, too. You never know. So, all right, guys, have a good night. Be sure to like and follow and check out the other shows there, all the ones on Spreaker.com. And, now we're on Pandora. So, you can check us out on Pandora, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. I guess they got us all over the place. So check them out, like them, and catch you all later. Be safe out there.